you all coming in today. I just want to share our journey with all of you. This journey started last summer break where myself, my husband and Madhav, my son, thought of doing some project, and we approached a few of his friends and they accepted to join gracefully, and the team will be presenting to you. We started as a group meeting with the parents and discussed all the topics which the kids brought up, and then they got different ideas in different fields. Finally, we decided this project called Organic Odyssey, which is used with the homemade organic pesticide. And since we had 4 kids, I thought, like being a team advisor, I want to introduce myself. I'm a team advisor for this group. We made 4 combination, and to make sure all the kids had the equal responsibility, we gave each combination to each kid, and as a kid, they themselves shopped, making a shopping kit, and they bought the fertilizer pot and everything. They planted themselves and they enjoyed the journey. I'm very happy today. This project is coming to end, and our deadline we know like this month. This meeting is mainly to have a community awareness. Even in spite of having a lot of knowledge, when we have some problem at our home, we just want to fix it. We go to the shop and we just purchase what is available in market. Even not reading the chemical ingredients, we purchase and just fix it, and we don't think about the consequences that happens later. Like that's the reason we have to work on like some organic stuffs. I personally had some experience with good benefits about using our organic spray, which I found the aroma and the growth and the yield was really good, which also brought us to do this project. I'm very happy to see me today, with the completion of this project with the team. I want to thank the parents, especially my husband and Dana, for helping me to complete this project. Hoping we'll be going to the next step, and best of luck for all of these kids. And I want to make Madhav to talk, who is my son. He's going to give an introduction about the team.
So my name is Madhav, and I study in Carnage Middle School in 7th grade. With my parents' support, I was able to do this project. I want to thank them. So I had my friends in my team, Akshay, Avanish, and Chuta. The requirement was that all the kids should be from the same school, same grade, and we should all be US citizens. So all of us met those requirements, so I'm happy to work with them. It was a long journey, but with the help of all our parents and our friends' cooperation, we completed it. I just want to thank all the parents and friends for the completion of our project. So we are the Organic Odysseys, and this is our presentation.
Our team goals were to reduce the impact of chemical insecticides on the environment, design an environmentally friendly and an effective organic equivalent, choose organic products that contain natural repellents and insecticide compounds. This was a question that we went by. Can we create a homemade organic insecticide with little to no environmental downsides that matches the efficiency of a synthetic insecticide? Our hypothesis: if the world switches to our homemade organic pesticides, then the environmental damage from synthetic insecticides will be decreased dramatically, and the plant yield and growth will improve significantly. There have been many experiments to do with organic pesticides, but ours is different because we made multiple types of organic insecticides in our experiment. We used a variety of unique and different ingredients, combining many of them, and we researched deeper and found out what makes each of those ingredients effective. Persistence is very important in our insecticide because it's the basic stability of an insecticide, or how long the insecticide effectively lasts. We want ours to last a long time. We don't want our insecticide to deactivate, because deactivation is the process where the pesticide doesn't work. Photodecomposition. Photodecomposition is a rapid process of a chemical compound being broken down by photons. We also need to resist this in our insecticide. Hydrolysis. Hydrolysis is the process of the splitting of a large molecule that is combined with the water molecule. Temperature is also a very important factor for our pesticides. There are 2 types of temperature: above soil temperature and below soil temperature. For every 50 degrees Fahrenheit, that change in above soil, the chemical reaction rate for the pesticide doubles, causing a faster breakdown of the active ingredient. Below the surface soil, the temperature drops with height. Every decrease of 50 degrees, the chemical reaction is cut in half. pH. pH is the measure of acidity of a substance. pH is measured from a scale of 1 to 14, with 14 being highly alkaline and 1 being highly acidic, and 7 being neutral. Here is the ingredients that we use in our pesticides. Neem. Neem is one of the most eco-friendly and effective organic insecticides there are. Neem is used in many ways. You can use neem in toothpaste, cosmetics, soap, etc. The main ingredient in neem oil is azadirachtin, and azadirachtin blocks hormones on insects, making them difficult to grow, lay eggs, and eat. Garlic. Garlic contains compounds that discourage insects from releasing eggs. When you use garlic, it creates allicin. Allicin creates the smell that garlic is remembered for. Allyl methyl sulfide is the name of the main compound in garlic. Cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is free of toxins, and its main ingredient is capsaicin. When insects breathe in capsaicin, it causes inflammation in their tissue and damage to their respiratory cells. Capsaicin also will burn skin cells and cause metabolic disruption. Food-grade diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is made from fossilized remains of organisms called diatoms. The skeleton of a diatom is made of silica. Eucalyptus oil. The eucalyptus tree is found in Australia. In eucalyptus oil, the main ingredient is eucalyptol or cineol. Many insects are killed by contact from eucalyptus oil, and it creates a smell that insects despise. Onion. Onions work as repellents because of its strong odor. Its main ingredient is also allyl methyl sulfide. Castile soap. Castile soap is made out of vegetable oil. It breaks into the hard chitin of the insect, exposing the soft skin body of the insect. Canola oil. The active ingredient in canola oil is erucic acid. The oil repels the insect by altering the outer layer of the leaf surface. Citrus oil. The main ingredient in citrus oil is orange peels. Citrus oil has the ability to kill bugs within minutes because of a nerve toxin in the oil. Peppermint oil. Peppermint oil's irritating fragrance drives many insects crazy. Cedarwood oil. Cedarwood oil is found in cedar trees. It acts as an octopamine prevacture, which disrupts the pheromones of the bugs, causing mass disorientation and disrupts semiochemical messages. Buffering agents. A buffering agent is very important in our experiment because if our pesticide is too acidic or alkaline, we use it to neutralize the pH. The buffering agent that we use is citric acid. Citric acid contains the chemical citrate that serves as the buffering agent. Permethrin. Permethrin is used in very horrible synthetic pesticides, and it harms many fish and other animals. When it is used, it overflows into water bodies, and it damages all kinds of wildlife.
The type of plants that grow in North Carolina are called annuals. There are two types of annuals, warm season annuals and cool season annuals. Warm season annuals grow when there is a topsoil temperature of over 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and cool season annuals grow when there is a soil temperature of below 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm season annuals are beans, corns, cucumber, melon, pepper, squash, tomatoes, eggplant, gourds, okra, pumpkins, and sweet potatoes. Cool season annuals are beets, broccoli, cabbages, carrots, lettuce, peas, spinach, Brussels sprouts, collards, kale, kohlrabi, leeks, mustard, greens, parsley, radishes, turnip, celery, Irish potatoes, and chard. Common bugs that are found on warm season annuals are squash bugs, armyworms, helicoverpa, flea beetles, Japanese beetles, whitefly, fungus gnats, spider mites, scale insects, gall mites, and grasshoppers. Common bugs found on cool season annuals are stink bugs, termites, roaches, kudzu bugs, cinches, termites, spiders, ants, roaches, fleas, and beetles.
We use many materials as Avinash and Achuta stated before in our experiment. We use 16 organic black beauty squash plants, 4 for each of us, and we use 16 organic Monolucy tomato plants, 4 for each of us. And we use many materials for growing our plants. These include water, just natural band soil, pots, Expert Gardener Organics all-purpose plant food, which is a fertilizer, garden-safe houseplant and garden insect killer, which is a synthetic insecticide, and plant support materials. As Achuta stated in his background research, we use many ingredients for making our insecticide. These include neem oil, ginger, garlic, onion, grounded cayenne pepper, olive oil, castor oil soap, canola oil, citric acid powder, peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, cedarwood oil, food grade DE, and water. We use many materials for actually making our insecticide. These include measuring cups, a blender, a fine mesh strainer, pH strips, droppers, measuring cups, and paper cups. We then use many materials for safety precautions. These include gloves, goggles, and masks. Now to our experimental process, the standard operating procedure. This is how we executed our experiment throughout the year. Here are some basic points to our experiment. The experiment is 13 weeks long, of which the first 10 weeks were in different locations, and the last 3 weeks were in the same location. There are 3 groups: the synthetic, which is sprayed by the marketed insecticide; the control, where no insecticide is sprayed; and the organic, where one of the 4 homemade formulations was sprayed. We had 2 plants for the synthetic group, 1 tomato and 1 squash. We had 2 plants for the control group, 1 tomato and 1 squash. And we had 4 plants for the organic group, 2 tomato and 2 squash. Note, the information above is only for 1 formulation. So this is how we proceeded with our experiment. This is like in the step format. Fill the pots halfway with soil. Make a little niche for the plant. Place the new plant in the niche. Fill the pot until the stem of the plant. Spread the groups apart so the control, the synthetic, and the organic are nowhere near each other. Based on the weather and temperature, we water the plants once or twice a day. Each plant is inspected for bugs, holes, and any other changes. This is recorded in a data table, which is maintained every day for each group. Based on the pH and growth, fertilizer was applied. The synthetic insecticide is sprayed every week as directed on the label, on top of the leaf and on the bottom of the leaf. The organic insecticides are sprayed every 3 days, except for DE, which is sprayed every week like the synthetic. It is sprayed on top of the leaf and on the bottom of the leaf. During the extension of our experiment, which was weeks 11 to 13, we added eggplant. Since all the plants were in the same location, each formulation does not need a synthetic in control. We could just share it. So we used 6 eggplants, 4 for each formulation, 1 for synthetic and 1 for control. Then we followed steps 1 through 8 for eggplant as well. So now, the procedure for making each insecticide was essentially the same, but I'm just going to demo the cayenne pepper formulation for an example. So the ingredients for the cayenne pepper formulation were 4 medium-sized cloves of garlic, 1 medium piece of onion, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon of cast iron liquid soap, and 26 ounces of water. So this is the procedure. The garlic, onion, and cayenne pepper were made as a paste separately with 120 milliliters of water using a blender. The above mixture was allowed to stay for 2 hours, and then it was strained with a fine mesh strainer. The above concentrate was mixed in a ratio of 1 part to 5 parts water. To the above solution, 1 tablespoon of cast iron liquid soap was added. All contents were thoroughly mixed, and the pH of the combination was checked to be in the range of 5.5 to 6.5. If not, a few drops of the buffering agent citric acid was added. The required quantity was transferred to a spray bottle and mixed thoroughly before spraying. Just before every use, the pH of the combination was tested to make sure it was within the range of 5.5 to 6.5. If not, the solution was discarded and the new settlement was prepared the same way as above. The process was repeated at a 3-day interval during normal weather or immediately after rain.
So we chose each of our plants for our experiment by looking at a multitude of factors, mainly considering temperature, if it can survive frost, what season this plant should be living in, and then how hot it can live up to. We chose tomato and squash for the first part of our experiment. We chose the plants for our extension of our experiment, eggplant, because it can live in the winter, and we already had a few organic seeded plants which we use. So we shipped our plants from our website, and this is how they look like when we got them. So at the beginning, they all had a height of 9 inches, and they all had no yield. So next, we transplanted them all into pots, And then what we did is we started our experimentation, and that's how it looked like then. And then by that time, the organic plants had a 30 inches growth, and four tomatoes were fruited. For control, 13 inches was growth, and two fruits were fruited. And for synthetic, 13 inches was also growth, and it was 2 fruits that were fruited. And then at the end of our experimentation, this is how our plants look like. So this includes eggplant as well. So by then, the organic had 50 inches for growth, and then 15 fruits. And then for control, it had 18 inches for growth and 5 fruits. And for synthetic, it had 18 inches for growth and then 15 fruits. So then for neem oil, what we found is based on the graph for neem oil, organic tomato and squash, there was no bugs except for a few during week 5, and there's also minimal holes in organic, differing from synthetic and control, which had many holes and bugs. The synthetic plants, according to the graphs, had a much higher amount of bugs than control overall, but it had much more holes, and to the end of the 10 weeks, there was about an average of 25 to 30 holes. The control squash plant had many bugs in the middle, reaching almost 50 bugs, and had the most holes in any plants. And the tomato was fairly well, having a max at around 35 holes. For essential oil, we noticed that the organic plant's hole count increased until a certain point, around week 4, then it started decreasing all the way until the end of the experiment. The bugs followed the same pattern. We also noticed that for the synthetic plants, it had less holes and bugs than the organic and control plants, but its growth and yield was much lower than the organic plant. The control plant had much more holes than the other 2 groups, reaching over 150 holes than the organic and control plants, but its growth and yield was much lower than the organic. So the control plants, for cayenne pepper, we noticed that from all the groups, the tomato holes were on average greater than the squash plants. We also noticed how all the squash plants had a lesser lifespan than all the tomato plants. One other thing that we noticed is generally the number of holes from the plants increases as the weeks increase, but then at the end of the lifespan, it decreases dramatically. For DE, we noticed that the holes of all 3 combinations were similar until the end of the experiment when organic holes dropped down.
Throughout our experimentation, we met Dr. George Kennedy and entomologist Dr. Matthew Burton. We asked them multiple questions about our experiment and how we could take it from here. They told us that we should summarize our conclusion by summarizing all the methods in our analyzed data. He also told us that we could represent our data using stacked graphs because they show the difference between all the bugs and holes in a concise method. He also told us that it should be in a same scale so you can compare everything just by looking at it. He also asked what factors come into play when deciding which insecticide is the best. He told us that the growth, bugs, and holes, and yield are all important factors when deciding which insecticide was the best. We also asked how we should continue with our experiment. Dr. George Kennedy told us that we should continue our experiment with a different vegetable plant, all in the same location, and for at least a minimum of 4 weeks. For entomologist Dr. Matthew Burton, we asked him to identify bugs that we had found in our plants and we had not been able to identify, and he helped us by sending a doc with all the bugs that we had sent him and identified. Since Dr. George Kennedy told us to continue our experiment with a new vegetable plant, all in the same location, we decided to use an eggplant that was organically grown and had already been affected by bugs. That helped us see how the bugs are controlled and limit the further damage to the already affected plant. The study's results will be collected for a minimum of 4 weeks, and we will be able to get the best combination which can be used instead of the synthetic spray to reduce the impact of synthetic insecticides to the environment and protect the world. After experimentation, we condensed all our data and put them together. For the cayenne pepper combination, the damage we found that was done to the plant was bugs with brittle plants and a disease called powdery mildew, which was caused by low humidity and high temperature, where certain funguses come and attract on the plant. Common bugs we found on the plant was the inchworm, which we found during weeks 4 and 5. Pollination occurred during this plant during the 2nd and 3rd week, in both the squash and the tomato plant. For the essential oil combination, we also found holes that were bitten by bugs and disease powdery mildew and mosaic virus. Mosaic virus causes the discoloration of plant leaves and eventually leads to the death of the plants. Common bugs we found on the plants were green centipede, flying ant, flea beetle, white flies, nymph of squash bug, and bees. Bees in the green centipede were good for the plant, whereas the rest were bad. Pollination occurred in only one of the tomato plants around the 5th week. For the D combination, we found no diseases, but we found holes that were bitten by bugs. Bugs and pests we found on the plants were snails and whiteflies. The pollination occurred on this plant during the 3rd week in both tomato and squash. For the neem oil combination, we found holes, and one problem we found was phototoxicity, which is excess UV radiation causing the plant to burn out. We found that phototoxicity occurred because of canola oil and the time we applied the insecticides. We did not notice many bugs on the plant, and neem oil was considered to repel the most bugs.
Overall, our hypothesis was proven accurate as all of our homemade organic insecticides prove better than the synthetic and control groups in many various different ways, such as the holes and bugs that have been found in our plant. We saw that the synthetic and control plants overall they have more bugs and holes than the organic. If you look at any week in our data, on average, the organic group had lower holes than the synthetic or on the control. We further proved our hypothesis true by adding the extension of our experiment. This idea of an extension came to us during our meeting with NC State faculty, Dr. Matthew. The extension allowed all of our plants to be observed at the same location. The extension of our experiment also allowed the introduction of a new plant, Eggplant. Eggplant was used to solidify the data about the organic, synthetic, and control groups. It proved that organic was better than the synthetic and control groups. We found that all of the organic insecticides were better than the synthetic insecticides. There's not one best organic insecticide, but all of the insecticides prove lethal against one type of insect. DU was harmful to crawling creatures. Essential oil and cayenne pepper were harmful to flying creatures, and the neem oil was effective against all type of insects. Also, according to our data, the neem oil plants had the least amount of bugs. The cayenne pepper combination had the best growth and yield. Let's take the growth and yield of the cayenne pepper formulation for example. The control yielded 5 fruits, synthetic yielded 13, and the organic yielded 15. In addition to yield, we also connected growth data. The essential oil grew 20 inches, the synthetic grew 25, and the organic grew 45. A way we could have improved our project was by starting the experiment earlier, so we could have had all our plants spend more time in the summer, exposing them to summer bugs and ideal conditions for our plant growth. So the freshly prepared homemade organic pesticide with its potency can survive whenever it's refrigerated for at least 2 weeks.
In conclusion, all 4 insecticides were essentially more effective than synthetic and control groups. Though all insecticides were effective against different types of bugs. Though from our data we conclude that the best insecticide was cayenne pepper and neem oil as they produced the most yield. The synthetic group did not produce much yield and had little growth overall. Thank you for listening to our presentation.